You already turned Apple Intelligence on. You know the three places it can go. That part's not the mystery. I switched it on the week it shipped. I checked the settings pane, read about private cloud compute, and told myself I understood exactly where my data went. Then I read what an independent audit actually found. But those three places aren't the whole picture. There's another separate system wearing the same private label, and it already failed an audit. Apple Intelligence isn't an app you download. It's built into macOS itself, which is why so many people can't tell if it's even running. One Mac owner put it plainly on Reddit. That makes sense too. I never use Apple Intelligence or heard much about it by Mac users. That reaction's normal, but normal doesn't mean harmless because if you can't tell what's running, you can't tell what's leaving your Mac. 4 places settle it right now: system settings, the priority band in Mail, the right-click menu on selected text, and the search field in Photos. A 5th is coming once this year's release clears public beta: Spotlight, Reading, Search, or Ask. If the first 4 are dead, nothing is running yet. It needs an M1 or later chip, macOS 26 Tahoe or newer, and roughly 7 gigabytes free. Intel Macs are excluded permanently, so the setup question has a clean answer. The privacy question doesn't because running and private are not the same claim. Apple splits every request into 3 lanes. Most stay on the Mac and never leave. Harder ones go to private cloud compute, Apple's private servers, and Apple says that data answers the request, is never stored, then gets removed. The protections there are real and specific: the secure Enclave, signed code, cluster attestation, and server software anyone can inspect. On the architecture, most reviewers agree. Then there's the third lane, ChatGPT. That one isn't Apple's policy at all. It's an opt-in switch. Without an OpenAI account, Apple says the request isn't tied to your Apple account and isn't used for training. Sign in, and OpenAI's own policies take over instead. So 3 lanes, 3 different rules to keep straight, and only one of them lives entirely outside Apple's own policy. And you can check some of this yourself. Apple lets you export a report showing which of your requests stayed local and which went to server-based models, covering the last 15 minutes or the last 7 days. So far, so transparent. But that transparency doesn't fix the bigger limit. Writing tools only ever see the text you've selected. They can rewrite an email, but they have no memory of the 400 notes you already wrote. Ask it to summarize a link, and it refuses on purpose. Apple's own system prompt tells the assistant it can't access web pages and instructs it not to offer a workaround. That's not a bug waiting on a fix. It's a decision Apple wrote by hand. So the tool that rewrites what's in front of you can't draft from what you already know, and it won't touch anything outside the window you're looking at. Therefore, the privacy question and the capability question turn out to be the same question: what does the assistant actually get to see? But transparent and protected aren't the same word either. Researchers at Ohio State University found an attack they called Serpent that could steal and replay Apple Intelligence access tokens across devices. Apple confirmed it, assigned a CVE, and paid a bounty. That's a working exploit, not a hypothetical. It gets harder to settle from there. A paper at ACM WiSec 2026 reverse-engineered the private cloud compute interfaces and found the shipped binaries still aren't fully reproducible. Outsiders can't independently confirm the code running on Apple's servers matches what Apple published. So even a stolen token isn't the deepest problem here. The Johns Hopkins cryptographer Matthew Green makes the more basic point. Valuable data can still flow outward, he said, simply because the agent was programmed to do its job. No cryptographic primitive protects you from that. So here's where that leaves you: a tool that can't index your own files, and a separate policy that refuses to touch a link on purpose. That's the exact gap Elephas closes. It's a Mac app that indexes your own files, something Apple's assistant has no way to do at all, and answers from them citing the document it pulled from. Hand it a link and it reads that too, the exact thing Apple's assistant is instructed to refuse. It also provides built-in local LLM models, so the sensitive work can stay fully offline when you need it to. And if you do send something to a cloud model, ChatGPT 5.5, Claude Opus 4.8, whichever one you use, Elephas strips names, emails, and identifiers on your Mac first. The cloud model only ever sees the sanitized text, then the redacted fields get put back together locally. That smart redaction and it's on every plan, including the free one. Elephas starts at $19 a month with a free trial, and there's a free plan if the document gap is the only thing blocking you. But the document gap was never the scariest part of this. There's still the question of which system actually failed that audit, and it changes how you should read the word private across macOS. So go back to the thing I told myself the week I switched it on, that I understood exactly where my data went. I didn't, and it wasn't in any of the 3 places I already knew about. That other system is called Differential Privacy. It isn't private cloud compute, and it isn't one of your 3 request lanes at all. It's a separate part of macOS. An IEEE S&P 2026 audit tested it and found it broke its own stated privacy guarantee in 5 of 9 mechanisms. Those 5 mechanisms carried 87% of the usage data researchers watched macOS Sonoma send out. The next release didn't fix it either. macOS Sequoia still had 68% of collected data sitting inside the broken mechanisms. That's the part nobody told me. Private on a Mac isn't one promise, it's several, and they don't all hold up the same way. The Apple Intelligence Report can tell you whether a request stayed local or went to a server-based model. It can't tell you whether that server-based system or the ChatGPT policy or the framework this audit tested is the one actually holding up. You have to check each one on its own. One-line takeaway. Know which system you're trusting because the label private covers more than one of them. And if the piece you actually need is a tool that remembers your own work instead of just rewriting it, that's the one gap none of Apple's 3 lanes close. Try Elephas, read the full breakdown linked below, and subscribe for the next one.